You're asking the wrong guy.
Well, anyway, this bottom column is about 50-some feet from here to here.
Okay.
All right? Because of erosion from farmland and pastures. Now look at that bottom column. It's only about 12, 15 feet sticking out of the dirt. So that canyon is anywhere from 300 to 600 feet wide. And it's got 15 or 18 foot of silt all the way up to headwaters and probably more down the water down the street.
That's all the runoff?
Yeah, erosion from fields. And it wasn't like that back in 19... See how pretty and clear that is? Good fishing, beautiful canyon.
All right.
Now look at it. Some good soil down there. I like to tell people, if you want to know something about nature, just walk out in the woods, look around, and use your brain to think. Look down. You know, look around, see a lot of life. You look down, you see an equal amount of death. And in nature, when something dies, it's deposited right there on top of the ground. And it builds up to a point. Depends on the environment you're in. At the soil level, you got the grubs and the field bugs and the earthworms and microbes and everything working as a composting area. And the top part is protecting that compost from the sunlight, you know, and the high rain and everything. And the rain comes and runs through that compost and picks up the soluble nutrients, and it goes down in the wormholes, and the nutrients are filtered out in the root zone. And the fresh water goes on down, drip, drip, drip into our aquifers. It may take it years to get down there. But the water needs to be stored in the soil, not in a lake. A lake is a kind of stupid place to store water, unless it's a real deep lake. Because our evaporation right here is 6 foot a year.
Wow.
No, 60 inches a year, not 6 foot, 60 inches. Depends on the year. 60 inches. So you lose 5 foot of water or 6 foot of water off the top of the lake. You store it in the soil, you lose none. And you had your environment like this, you wouldn't have floods. Water wouldn't run off because you'd have all them borers from the earthworms and the grubs and everything to allow it to soak in, and the mulch holds it in place until it does soak in. And then this is what you'll have. Pretty, clear streams with beautiful trees around it. And we're not staying in focus for some reason. I guess it is. Anyway, I own 2 farms. My first farm was 11 acres, and man, I had fruit trees, grapevines. I had everything. It was beautiful, and people from everywhere were coming out to visit. And my wife had flowers. We had a big garden. That's the only picture I took on that place. So. Anyway, people are calling us backwards, old-fashioned. Some even called us hippies, and we didn't even smoke pot. Extension Service came out, Sam Cotton, horticulturist, with the city horticulturists and Dr. Doers. And they looked around and they said, Beck, this is beautiful. You sure you're not using any of our modern chemicals? I said, no, I'm being a purist. I'm doing this natural. The way our forefathers had to do it. I'd been reading Organic Garden and Farming magazine, getting a lot of points out of there. And Sam Cotton said, well, this is not practical on large acreage. He said, we have to feed the world. So I went out to my wife, we're going to sell this little farm to buy us a big farm. Well, she don't know me. She told me what she wanted. She wanted a house far back off the road. She wanted a creek running through the place. She wants a bunch of big pecan trees. She wants deer on the place. She wants a good well in the Edwards and all that kind of stuff. For fun, her and I'd go look at old farms. We found that farm exactly the way she described in Canal County where she wanted to be. And we could buy it for less than was offered for our little place. Because I built a new house and so we moved on to it. Anyway, that place was wore out, brother. It was farmed to death for 82 years. First we moved there in September and October. I bedded up some ground with my cultivators and raked them off. And we always plant a salad garden close to the house. We'd mix lettuce and beets and carrots and radishes and stuff like that. And then as I planted thick, and we would eat the thinnings as we thinned it. Well, those plants came up and then stopped. They wouldn't grow an inch more. Then I knew how poor that place
Soil.
was. So I cleaned out the old cow pen. Hadn't been any animals in there for several months, but still there was old dried manure and dust and dirt, you know, from years of animals being in there. And I prepared a seed bed right beside these and planted from the same seed pack. Now let me show you those plants, and let me show you the color of the soil. Look at those plants. Look at the color of the soil. These, I snapped that picture and turned right around and snapped this picture. These plants are 10 days older than these plants.
Wow.
You see what calendar will do? Barnyard waste. You may know of Neil Sperry. He
Yes.
writes the big, prestigious magazines. Well, he had an article in there once that if you put cow manure around a plant, it'll just turn them yellow because there's no nutrients in it. The guy want to try it. See, he's an Aggie. That's what they were taught. Anyway,
Wow.
I used to garden, 5 or 6, 8, 10 acres in vegetables. And then when the crops would be ripening up in the middle of the places, and my wife, I got to listen to her. She said, okay, Beck, how are we going to get the vegetables out of the middle of that field after without walking all over everything and driving all over everything? And I got to, and I said, okay, it won't happen next year. So from then on, I would do a 22-row section of cash crop, and then a 22-row section of cover crop, and cash crop and cover crop, and I'd continue on like that on 5 acres. The reason I went 22 rows, that's how far my sprinklers reached.
Okay.
And that's spring, summer, cash crop. And this was winter cover crop on either side. For cover crop, I use Elbon rye. That's a rye I get this tall. It grows really a powerful root. And I would mix vetch. That's a legume, a vining legume. I'd mix vetch with it. And the rye would outgrow the vetch, so I'd always hang up my brush hog high and knock the top of the vetch off. I mean the rye off, so the vetch could get sunlight to climb up the rye.
Okay.
And the rye is a real fibrous root, and the vetch is a taproot. So I had roots in 2 different zones. The vetch takes nitrogen out of the air, the rye takes nitrogen out of the soil, so see they're compatible. And one's binding on another, and that worked out real well, real good. But I got a added benefit I didn't know I was going to get. In that thick cover crop on each side, it's real thick. This is where all the beneficial insects hibernate. The big-eyed bugs, the green lace-winged fly, the lady beetles, and numerous others. Mm-hmm. And then in the spring when they wake up and time for them to mate and deposit eggs, they came into my cash crop. So I had an insectary of beneficial insects on both sides of my cash crop. So I never, ever had a disease or an insect problem, ever, the whole time we were farming. So simple.
Those cover crops were to maintain the soil?
Right, maintain the soil, to build organic content on each side, because the vetch is a legume that has a deep taproot, and it has nitrogen nodules that takes its nitrogen out of the air. The rye's got a real fibrous root, I mean that big around of it, and it really mellows the soil. And then I would, then when these vegetables are finished, I would go around the neighborhood and gather up manure and throw manure all on top of everything, and then I would chop it up with a big shredder I had. And then that's where cover crop went next year. So see, I had it.
It kind of all moved over one?
Right. It kept going back and forth all the time. And it's such a great, now we can drive on both sides, see, on over the cover crop, so what? Then we'll have to step 11 steps each direction. Boy, this works. That works. However, it's probably been a hand labor because, everything mixed up, you got to pick everything by hand.
Right.
And lucky we always had a good guy that walked all the way from the border to our place, show up in the morning. Wow. Stay there when the crops, and boy, they loved it because they got to eat good stuff. All they wanted. And I mean, and hand hoeing. See, I had tractor work, but when it gets big, you can't hoe in there, and especially in the viney stuff, cucumbers and watermelons. Well, we made lots of watermelons. I sold Whole Foods the first load of organic watermelons I ever had. I had my 3/4 ton pickup loaded with watermelons and my stock trailer loaded with watermelons. Oh, wow. And the extension service gave me the seeds. One of them was Tri-X 313, the seedless. Boy, it was a delicious melon. One was